Alright, so we'll show our components. I can do the flyout, and we can add those in. Alright, so we have through the mix. We're pretty much through with our sketches, so we can hide the two sketches that are driving, that are the scaffolding or the skeleton of our pressure vessel, or our pressure cylinder. And for contrast, think about, or even go through the process of building these individually. Go through the mates, go through the bottom-up process, and just compare what's involved, and then make a simple change, like we want to change the size of the base circle from 75 up to 80 millimeters. We have to open up each part and change that individually in each part, where here I can go back into the whole sketch, and if I change this to 80, I'm going to see an instant result for all three pieces when I rebuild. Alright, so that wasn't really a change that we needed, so I'm going to go back to 75 and make sure to rebuild so it updates. Alright, so in this case the toolbox is not active, so if I right click on the toolbox, maybe at one time I could right click, or thought I could right click. Let's go ahead and just launch out of the SolidWorks add-ins, and again you can come up to the pull down next to the options and go to the add-ins in that result. Alright, so we looked last time at the toolbox utilities. There's a structural steel, or W-beam, which is I-beams, H-beams, grooves for O-rings and internal external retaining rings, cam geometry, calculators for life expectancy on various components. Alright, so my video card, not sure what it just did. Okay, so we need to go find our metric, ANSI metric, bolts and screws. We're going to pick up the hex head. I think we use the bottom without the flange. So again, we're just dragging and dropping. Maybe. Oh, it's catching up. So need to give it a second. Still thinking. Okay, well, I thought I had saved enough, but in the process of launching the toolbox, I had a not responding, and I lost the cover plate. It came up with the option under the home. There is a tab for alerts, or at the end for recovery, and it offered to let me recover, and in the process I lost the cover plate. So save often, Control S, and save all, and again save internally. Okay, not really ready to output those just yet. So instead of loading all of the utilities this time, I'm just going to load the toolbox library, and we'll let that come in. And we'll search down for the ANSI metric, the hex head, and the hex cap. Alright, so that's looking a little better. We have the M8, and our length will be 30 millimeters. And go ahead and accept. It's going to stay in the hex until I hit the X and place those. Alright, so this didn't call for a washer, but we could have gone over and looked down through to the washers, found a plain washer or some type of lock washer, and put that in first, and then we would put the hex. Same basic process. Alright, so let's go ahead and make the exploded view. And I'll go ahead and save. If you want to create the folders to organize this, I just did the Windows select, hold down the Shift button, select the end. So all of them are highlighted, hit the right button, and add to new folder. And then this becomes my hardware. So instead of having a big long list in my my components, if I need to do anything with the hardware, I can suppress or hide and unsuppress or show all at the same time. Alright, so for my exploded view, we're going to try and do the same types of things that we did with the multi-body. And we'll drag that out a little bit. I'm still holding down with the left mouse button while I'm using the scroll wheel to kind of zoom out a little bit. And then we can right click and OK. Oh, didn't want OK. I wanted the right mouse button. So to get back in after we've gotten out is to edit the feature. Let's try the Autospace components this time. It's just 2 components, but this is new for 2020. Use center of bounding box to order components, rear of bounding box, or the front of the bounding box. So we'll have to see what those do. So I want the cover plate and the gasket. And I'll zoom back out. And as I bring those up, then on the auto spacing I should be able to drag the slider so it goes in relation to the first part. And then if I want to make an adjustment, maybe 35 millimeters, not a lot, but just enough to clean it up, and we're done. Alright, so that gives me the start to work with. When I go, I still haven't saved these out to individual components, so if I come back over to, let's see, where can I find that? If I try to open, all I'm going to see in that folder is the pressure cylinder. We haven't saved anything. There's still virtual components inside of the assembly. So let's go ahead and make drawing, and I'm just going to pick drawing, but this time I'm going to go with the portrait. Alright, so the document that we drew this from, I'm not fond of the isometric view and putting those dimensions on. Maybe for reference, but we'll try it. And at some point you will probably want to attempt something like this. So let's go ahead and bring it in. And we'll, what did it pick up for the default scale? Let's come over and find it. So it's at 1 to 5, so 1 to 2 shouldn't be that bad. Alright, so being in the isometric, when we go to add dimensions, we're going to have true dimensions, and also if I wanted the section view for this, I'm going to have to open up that part. So we need to go back into the assembly. Let's just take a quick look at what we had. So they broke this out. Jump back in, and if I right click and open the part, it's going to open just like if we had if we'd built it as originally as a part. So from the top plane, let's take out a quarter section, and this will be optional if you just want to build the parts and put some basic dimensions on. That's going to be fine for this exercise. Extrude cut, check the direction of the arrow, and we're going to go through all, which pretty much defaults to through all for both. And there's my section view. Alright, so if I thought ahead, I probably would have done a configuration and called this a the other section view. Don't know that I need to get that far into it, but that gives us something that looks like what we were originally working with. Alright, so when I go to put in the annotations or the sketch dimensions, Alright, so true 1.97 radius. And that's going to be kind of the downside, is that it's not going to go back and calculate, because these are isometric. They're and more of elliptical in shape. They're a little harder to contend with. So if I go to the vertical, did not like my surface selection, so I'm going to escape out of that. See if it'll let me have along that edge. Alright, so that's why we ended up with a bunch of notes. Alright, so we'll put those in. And if I try the whole call out, we'll just give that an attempt. So it does pull up the 8 times by 3.9. So let's see, there's the true for that one. Maybe I'll stay in the whole call out. And if we pull up for the threaded holes, it gives us a little more information. Alright, so staying in that same type of group, if we go to the note, but I don't have the associativity that I would like to have. So this was the cover plate. One of these days I'll learn how to spell plate. And 13 millimeter thick. Okay, so we can put those notes in or add. And notice if I pick on the surface, I'm going to get the little dot. And we got a little too much going on there. So 3 millimeter. And I lost my reference to the page. So gasket. Okay. And then the base chamber, or chamber base, and 65 millimeter. We stay with the same type of terminology. Okay, escape or select. So I did pull up the 2.56. Let's go ahead and get into the millimeters, grams, and seconds. So that'll update to something a little more familiar. And then the hex heads. Let's go back into the annotation. This will be our M8 by 1.25 with a 30 millimeter by 30 millimeter length. Okay, so just kind of a quick run through of creating the drawing. Move that out to the fit, make sure to save. And this can become the drawing. Alright, so now we'll have 2 files. If I go back into the assembly, and what was the other one that was open? Oh, that was the temporary file, the backup file. Okay, so that was still listed as in the background on the window. Okay, so I want to save these out, and not sure what effect suppressing the cut's going to have once I find it. So let's go ahead and suppress. I mean, I know it's going to do something in the drawing, but I don't really want it to participate in our current activity. So again, if I do the shift on the first part and select the last part, we can right click, and then I'm going to save the part in external files. Just to be on the safe side, I like to do same as assembly. The names are already there, so I'm not, in contrast to the multi-body, I'm not as concerned with the bodies being corrupted or having the names get lost with a suppress or with the rollback. So go ahead and hit OK, and that's going to extract or put them into the mix so that the little brackets or braces are gone. And if we go, let's just open real quick. Now I have the cover plate, the gasket, and the chamber are all as separate parts, as well as my drawing. Now, it shouldn't have affected the drawing in any way, except for the quarter section being unsuppressed. So it's going to retain its associativity, and I can always reposition the body, and since it didn't have that cut, it looks like I got rid of one of my dimensions. Alright, so not real crazy, but the takeaway is you have these three strategies. You will at some point encounter these three strategies. Not everything is going to be produced bottom up. Some modelers like Fusion 360 and Solid Edge are the technology is geared towards top-down or multi-body, and the bottom-up is not the most common. So just be aware that they exist, and you have to have those that little bit of discipline and be able to do a little error diagnostics when it gets lost or it needs a little help along the way.